Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Beau, Maddox.
And this is Collateral Gaming, the anniversary special.
Woo!
Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. Thank you once again, Beau, for joining me on our anniversary special.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, how many years has this podcast been running so far?
So we are on season 5, so I guess that would mean 4 years since.
Excellent, man. I remember 4 years ago when we initially discussed the whole concept of doing a gaming podcast, you know? Like, I kind of set you and Dakota kind of on the path there. I remember that very well, and yeah. Honestly, I'm happy to be here to kind of celebrate that a little bit, you know?
Well, well, Beau isn't technically a full-time member of Collateral Gaming. You've been here since the beginning of the podcast. I mean, you were originally mastering the episodes while we were recording them. You and Robert even kind of were a little bit of a part of it. We gave you guys mics, and you guys could just chill and make comments.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Back in the day, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those were good times, man. I kind of miss those days.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, even especially more so recently, you've been all I have, you know, whenever we're playing something that maybe my co-hosts aren't as interested in, or maybe they're just busy. So, yeah, I mean, Beau is as much a part of Collateral Gaming as almost anyone is that's been on this podcast.
Yeah, and especially on an episode like this where there's a lot of, you know, retro content. You know, I mean, as your listeners probably remember, I am very much a retro gamer. You know, that's my whole thing. I do like some of the current generation, like some of the indie horror games are actually pretty solid, but yeah, I mean, an episode like this where we're talking about, you know, just the overall genre of arcade fighting games is something that goes really, really just far back with me, man. I mean, all the way back to like stuff like Pit Fighter and, you know, and one of the series we're going to talk about, Street Fighter, among others. But
yeah, and in fact, you and Robert were both a part of our arcade game mega review we did back a few seasons ago.
Oh, yes.
On light gun shooters, and I want to say that was like season 2. So yeah, that was pretty early on.
Oh, that was a lot of fun, man. Like we went to the same arcade that we did this time around, and it has like so many light gun games. I almost feel like it's a little overrepresented in the in that particular arcade, to tell the truth. But like I feel like they could have had room for skee-ball, maybe.
Yeah,
I miss skee-ball. I love skee-ball, man. Skee-ball is the best.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of variety, but what was cool with the fighting games is that they were all kind of on these multi-game systems.
Yeah, and that's something that SNK kind of more or less pioneered with their Neo Geo systems, you know, one of which we actually played on, which is a little janky because of what you have to know about the SNK architecture is that it used these ginormous cartridge. Basically, it was like an oversized console, basically. And the idea was that you can like take multiple cartridges and you could kind of have like up to like 5 or 6 or even like 7 games on one cabinet, you know, and you can change between them. And typically, a lot of the games that were on these early SNK machines, they were fighters, and some of them even had like Capcom fighters, like for instance, Street Fighter and whatnot. So
yeah, and the machines that we played with, I mean, were all seemingly designed with fighting games in mind. I mean, they had one joystick and 6 buttons. That's your pretty standard fighter control scheme.
Unless we're talking about the SNK control scheme, which is a lot different. It's a completely different button layout.
Yeah. But I mean, at least the ones that we worked with. But yeah, I mean, and what's actually also interesting about this arcade that we went to, Diversions, is I was talking to my mom about it. She used to go to that arcade as a kid.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, straight up. And she lived over by like Universal City. This is over on San Pedro.
Okay, so yeah, it's like a hop and a skip away.
Pretty much the closest arcade and, as well as the closest mall nearby.
Yeah. North Star and Mall is in that particular area.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really good arcade with a lot of history behind it, and you kind of feel it every time you walk in, man. I mean, it's just got, they just have a wall of Galaga and Pac-Man machines. And of course they had all the skill games, which I wasted a few tokens on. I mean, I was trying to get that Nintendo Switch OLED, man.
We had so many tokens that it was fine. I mean, like we got you got $20 and got like 100 tokens or something?
Yeah, that's actually a bargain. Honestly, it actually pays to just go ahead and spend $20 to play a bunch of games. And we stayed there for almost 2 hours?
Yeah, we had a lot of tokens to burn. And what's funny is, looking back on it now, is like, I don't think that there were that many fighting games that we were able to check out, but it still was just a whole vibe. I enjoyed it. And so we have a lot of fighting games that we played while we were there. And then we also have some that we've just kind of played on like your PlayStation Classic.
Yeah. There's one series that I'm a little disappointed that they didn't have at least one machine there. I mean, I don't know if these machines are starting to get rare or not, but they didn't have a Tekken or Tekken 2 machine there. And that really bummed me out because Tekken 2 is a fantastic arcade game. It's like and also a Soul Calibur machine would have been great, honestly, but those are both like awesome 3D fighting games that were, like the best of their like particular generation. Like I remember playing Tekken 2 on PlayStation 1 back in the day, and for me and my friends, like that was just that, and another one we're going to get to at the end of this. They were just like the premier fighting game to play on PlayStation, and but it was also like the best 3D fighter to play in the arcade as well. So I was really disappointed they didn't have that. Also, I'm going to bring up another little honorable mention here. I'm kind of sad that they didn't have a Primal Rage machine there. Like, we should have played a little bit of Primal Rage on my PS Classic. I mean, admittedly, we did kind of play a lot of these games on my PS Classic because I do have like either PlayStation ports or MAME ROMs of them.
Yeah, we played a lot of those, and in fact, we even have some on the list that I have an arcade cabinet at home that I built that actually has 3 Street Fighter 2 games on it.
Shout out to Arcade 1-Up.
Yeah, Arcade 1-Up. My ex-wife got it for me a few Christmases ago, and I finally put it together. And so we got to have kind of the arcade experience with that. And I also bought the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection on Switch, which has a lot of the pretty much everything from the classic like Street Fighter arcade games, and we'll get into that here in a second. In fact, I think that's pretty much a good segue into the Street Fighter series.
Oh yes, definitely. But before we get into that, I'm sad they didn't have a Primal Rage machine because Primal Rage is another classic fighting game that I really enjoyed back in the day. Like it had these kind of pre-rendered claymation style or stop motion animation style characters to them. And they had like fatalities, and it was all like prehistoric. They were all dinosaurs and everything.
Dude, that sounds like a badass.
It's a badass fighting game, and I'm gonna just go ahead and recommend that right off the bat. Like if you can find a machine, play it in the arcade, or if you can get a MAME ROM to work. Admittedly, the MAME ROMs that I've found of Primal Rage, they're usually really janky. Like especially if you try to use it with the MAME cores on the RetroArch. So, proceed with caution there. But yeah, and if you can find a rare prototype machine to play the sequel, check it out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty, well, yeah. With those honorable mentions out of the way, I guess we'll go ahead and get into the Street Fighter series. So, I'm going to start with the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection because it's kind of a good opportunity to go over all of the classic Street Fighter games, because and several of which we did end up playing. But the 30th Anniversary Collection actually includes everything from Street Fighter 1 to the Street Fighter 2 series, all up until Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the Street Fighter Alpha series, 1, 2, and 3, and then the Street Fighter 3 series up to Third Strike.
Man, and I gotta tell you, it is great that these games are being released in a package like this or a collection like this, because it's a real win for game preservation. Because these are very important games that need to be passed down to the next generation. Like especially like Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting and whatnot. I mean, but to have all of everything Street Fighter, like 30 years of Street Fighter on one collection, I love those types of collections. I always have,
Yeah, no, it's a good collection, and what's cool is these games are emulated fairly accurately to their original, revisions, because, I mean, that's really all they are. In fact, part of me wonders why so many of these games are even packaged together, because it's like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, okay, is like the definitive version of of Street Fighter 2, right?
Right.
Like, because you start with like the original game, and then you have Champion Edition, which brought the non-playable boss characters as playable characters and introduced mirror matches. You have the hyper fighting, which sped everything up. You have and I think introduced some characters, either that or the new challengers introduced new characters. So that was Super Street Fighter, the new challengers. That's one of the ones that's actually on my arcade cabinet as well, along with Champion Edition.
Yeah,
that is, as far as I hear, and I've played some of it, that redrew everything. Like, it received a complete graphical and audio overhaul, added like 4 new playable characters or something.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's good that they're actually adding content to it all these years later.
But slowed it back down to the way it was before hyper fighting, right?
Oh, yeah.
So then Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo brought back the fast-paced action from hyper fighting and combined it with everything that Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, had to offer. So, it's just kind of like Super Street Fighter 2, and in each case they're also like rebalancing characters, changing some of the special moves, adding special moves. So it's like there's really no reason to go back and play any of the other Street Fighter 2 games.
Well, here's the thing about it. It's really a matter of preference.
Yeah.
All the old school Street Fighter people, I mean, hyper fighting is the preferred route, but there's just certain little nuances between the different versions that some people might gravitate towards. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe. I mean, some people may not like the hyper fighting. They might throw their timing off. Like maybe they're just really really used to the timing of the original. They're really mastered that. And
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you would want to go between these different versions.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, because, for instance, like there may be some kind of like cheap strategy that you had with a particular character, or some kind of broken mechanic that you utilized and incorporated into your play style, and that's what you're going for. So, and I think, like you said, preservation is key. What's also nice is that you can scale the difficulty and the speed of most of these. And then other settings as the series goes on. So
yeah, and that's something that was really standardized by Capcom and by this particular version of Street Fighter. It's something that became standardized even in like the SNK fighters and a lot of the even some of the Sega fighters and whatnot. I mean, it really allowed you to kind of customize your fight a little bit.
Yeah, but they make it super easy with the collection. Like on each Street Fighter, there are different settings. So like the original Street Fighter 1, I have the hardest time with. I can't fucking pull off any of the special moves. I think I finally got a Hadouken like 1 or 2 times.
It's not a particularly great game.
It's stiff and it's rigid.
but it set the initial standard for what would come with Street Fighter 2. And Street Fighter 2 just really amplified the few things that was really good about it and just added more to it, you know?
Yeah, so what I noticed with Street Fighter 1 is also, in addition to it being very rigid, hard to pull off any of the special moves, and just really difficult for reasons that were beyond my control until I really mastered that old control system and accounted for the flaws in it. But beyond that, it only has 2 playable characters, Ryu and Ken, and what's interesting about that is that like Ken was literally just like the Luigi. He was the player 2 if you happened to be playing versus, and then if you won as Ken, you could continue and do the tournament as Ken.
Yeah. And the thing that you have to take into consideration is just how much of a jump ahead Street Fighter 2 was from Street Fighter 1. Because Street Fighter 1 was just going off of the mechanics of early fighters. And early fighters, if you know anything about it, they had really weird control schemes. Like Karate Champions, like one of those karate games.
Oh, I played one of those, actually.
It had a dual stick type of... there was one version of it that was like a dual stick kind of control.
I forgot to write it on the list. I did play Karate Champ, and these were like 8-bit graphics. They were really, really, really basic, and it looked like something that was on like a Nintendo. And yeah, it had this dual stick control scheme that I just could not work out. It did not work for me.
Yeah, incidentally, that is the game that is played in Bloodsport, which is a full-length commentary on Collateral Cinema's Patreon, so go check out our Patreon page. Yeah, I just had to throw a little plug there.
You gotta. I respect it. But yeah, no, going back to Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2, what was nice about Street Fighter 2 is that it actually set the precedent for a selectable roster of fighters.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that was like unheard of back then, you know? I mean, it was like, there was like, what, 6 characters at the time?
Yeah, I think it was just the 6, and and there were non-playable boss characters, and you couldn't fight against yourself in the original version of it. But yeah, I mean that became a staple of fighting games since. And what's interesting is Champion Edition then brought the whole mirror matches, which has also become a staple in fighting games. Having being able to face yourself with an automatically applied palette swap.
It is amazing how Capcom just kind of single-handedly just, they pretty much set the standards for everything that these type of 2D fighters would become.
And there's a lot of Capcom in this list.
Lots of Capcom here. I mean, unfortunately, the few SNK Neo Geo games that I wish we could have played that we'll get into here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it set the standard, like I said, for customization of your fighting, of your fight and everything. Like choosing in the different speeds and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really, really fucking awesome how it just moved gaming ahead. It changed. It's one of those games that just changed gaming forever.
Right. And Street Fighter 6 is set to come out soon. I'd love to cover it as a game launch episode. I think we really ought to.
Definitely.
And this is going to be the first Street Fighter game set after Street Fighter 3, which was kind of like set in the future and featured that whole new protagonist like Alex and everything.
Yeah.
And then there was the Street Fighter Alpha series, which took place before Street Fighter 2. And then I think 4 and 5 take place somewhere between 2 and 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a confusing timeline, and it's also not very clear within the canon, like who actually wins the tournament.
I cannot wait for the Angry Video Game Nerd Confused Continuity episode on it, because it's going to be awesome.
Actually, I know what he's going to be pissed about. I was thinking, the nerd's going to be pissed about this, because Street Fighter 6 is Street Fighter Arabic numeral 6, when the established naming convention was Roman numerals.
Yeah.
That actually bothers me too, because Street Fighter's got a lot of other things going on. You've got a lot of these other like sub-series, and so that's okay. I can forgive that. But I'm with the nerd on this one. When you have a consistent numbering scheme for this long, and then you decide to just do something different, that grinds my gears. It should have been Street Fighter Roman numeral 6.
Yeah, and then you have the whole Street Fighter Alpha series, which is a whole nother can of worms in its own right.
Well, and I can forgive that though, because
You
it's
know?
a separate series, it's a sub-series, whatever. It does make the timeline more confusing because it takes place before Street Fighter 2, and they have to like retroactively, I guess, make
certain characters make sense within the timeline.
yeah, they have to exactly, like M. Bison showing up earlier and
yeah.
exactly, and establishing this whole like M. Bison transferring bodies thing. I don't know, but yeah, I haven't played a whole lot of the Street Fighter series, to be completely honest with you. But we did get a lot of time to play with. I think the one we played or I played the most was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and I gotta say, like, that's if you're gonna pick a classic Street Fighter arcade game to play, I feel like that's the one. I had a lot of fun with it. You and I played a few matches down on that arcade cabinet that I got for Christmas.
Yeah, and I gotta say the arcade one-up cabinets, they have a good feel to them. Like I like the feel of the joystick and the controls. It had that nice clicky sound feel to it. You know that if you know anything about, if you were ever an arcade rat and you know anything about that, you know that's like key. You know that click. You've got to have it.
Yeah.
You know, in order to have that authentic feel, you know?
Yeah, it's got the click. And I remember putting those damn joysticks together, like building them with, a screwdriver and shit. So
Yeah. You did good job, dude. I mean, they actually work very well.
it's like IKEA. It's pretty
IKEA
easy.
shit. Yeah.
It's pretty easy to put together, and it's sturdy. It looks good. The only thing is that I wish, like you said, it came with the riser.
Yeah, you have to go buy the riser separately at Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Or sit down and play.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. We specifically avoided playing Street Fighter at the arcade, I know, because we played a lot of the games on your PlayStation or on the arcade cabinet or on my Switch, So
Yeah.
One series though that we did get to check out at the arcade, and another Capcom fighting game, very similar to Street Fighter. But we also got an opportunity to play like the PlayStation 1 port of was the Darkstalkers series.
Oh man, Darkstalkers is great because it's essentially just Street Fighter but horror style. I mean, it's so awesome. And it has some really iconic characters. Of course, Morrigan,
who showed up in Marvel vs. Capcom.
shows up in a lot of those crossover games, honestly.
Yeah,
she even shows up in a Pocket Fighter, which is like a chibi version of all the Street Fighter and Darkstalkers characters. But yeah, I mean, there's so many cool characters there that are just nice little send-ups of the old horror archetypes and everything. Like there's a werewolf and there's a mummy and a vampire and a succubus
and a samurai, Bishamon.
A Bishamon, a ghost samurai.
I think was his name. Yeah. That dude was fucking cool as hell. I actually like.
And also in Darkstalkers 3, you have a monster like Queen Bee, which is like literally like a bee lady, and of course you have the cat lady, Neko Girl.
Felicia,
Neko Girl.
Neko Girl?
Hell yeah.
Oh, man, I love playing as the sexy babes. Morgan, the cat girl.
I'm going to say I'm actually partial to Lilith from Darkstalkers 3.
Lilith.
Yeah, just a slightly cuter version of Morgan.
Yeah. So we played Darkstalkers 1 at the arcade, and then we played Darkstalkers 3 on your PlayStation 1. And yeah, I mean, I'd say overall, like they're pretty similar.
I feel that the PlayStation 1 port of Darkstalkers 3 had better controls. I didn't really care for the controls on the machine that we were playing, honestly. I thought they were a little...
I mean, I personally have an easier time with a D-pad, which is interesting because you'd think that the analog stick of any kind of like retro game would be good for arcade games because it's the closest thing to like a joystick, but I had an easier time with the D-pad. I know like different gamers are going to be different.
Once again, it goes back to that feel. You have to have a feel for playing fighting games. And a lot of that goes back to what I said about the arcade controllers. You had that click, and if there's any lag in that shit, it's going to throw you off. And I kind of felt like that particular version of Darkstalkers that we were playing was probably not really emulated all that well, to tell the truth.
So in Japan, this is actually a series that's known as the Vampire series.
Vampire Savior, that's what it's called.
Yeah, and there's several games here. So there's Darkstalkers, the Night Warriors, which is also known as Vampire, the Night Warrior.
Yeah.
Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, which is also known as Vampire Hunter, Darkstalkers Revenge.
Yeah.
Vampire Savior World of Darkness, also known as Darkstalkers 3.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Once again,
PlayStation port is called
once again, the
3.
nerd is going to be pissed.
Yeah, so you actually have different titles based on not only which region you're playing in, which is fine. A lot of these do. All the other ones do. But Darkstalkers 3 in particular has different titles depending on what system you're playing it on. And yeah, that pisses me off too.
God damn it.
So no, it's Darkstalkers 3 on the PlayStation in the US. In Japan, it's Vampire Savior EX Edition. Whatever, that's fine. It's known as Vampire Savior, the Lord of Vampire in Japan. But yeah, no, though they just decided to just drop the whole Darkstalkers thing for some reason in the regular arcade, like base arcade game.
That's weird.
So it's Vampire Savior.
Wow, that's insane, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing because, like I said, I mean, I even noticed like it had a lot of the same characters as Darkstalkers 1 did.
Yeah, it did. That's weird.
I don't know.
Wow. Well, like that Yeti?
The Yeti guy? Oh, fuck the Yeti guy and fuck the Mummy guy in Darkstalkers 3.
Yeah, the Mummy guy,
Anubis,
the Yeti
whatever.
guy. Yeah, they're fucking assholes.
Yeah, no, fuck those guys.
But BB Hood, Bonnie B. Hood.
Oh shit! With the
She's
fucking
awesome.
what kind of gun was that?
She's the little Red Riding Hood, and she has an Uzi and everything.
Uzi, that's what it was. And no, that character was fucking fun. I loved being able to just like spam the Uzi and shit and like bombs and shit everywhere. And she does that stupid fucking curtsy.
Yeah, dude. No, she's amazing, dude. It's like she's like the best character in that entire series, I think, because she's just so maniacal. That's pretty much her whole power, is that she's just a fucking maniac.
I actually got all the way to like one of the boss characters with her, if not the boss character. I don't know. But
yeah, what's great about her is that, she's really vicious. So if you like just go with her like with a really serious attack style and everything and just attack, you could really just whittle your opponent down really easily.
Nice.
With her. So yeah, she's if you want to like have a good starter character for Darkstalkers, Bonnie B. Hood is the one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you seem to favor the cat girl.
I do. It's like, honestly, I mean, I like her fighting style. It's very fluid, It's like it's quick and snappy, but also very fluid, Whereas Morgan, I kind of feel is a little more stiff as a character. She's got a stiffer fighting style to her.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean there.
Yeah, But yeah, man, I mean, I love the Darkstalkers or Vampire Savior or Night Warriors or what the fuck ever they want to call it. I like these games.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. While we're on the subject of Capcom fighting games, I want to go ahead and jump ahead to the Marvel games because this series is actually pretty interesting. We played Marvel Superheroes on the PS1. This predates any of the Marvel vs. Capcom series, but it specifically just focused on Marvel characters.
Yeah, and that had an interesting little roster. I mean, you had like Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, Wolverine. I think Psylocke is there.
And then like fucking like Shuma Morgoth or
Shuma
something.
Morgoth, yeah.
Like, yeah, it was the weirdest fucking roster in some cases beyond
It is
some of the more
really
obvious.
strange, yeah.
Now I'm a Spidey guy, so I just kind of gravitate towards Spidey.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that one was a lot of fun. If a little basic, but it was basically still like your typical Street Fighter.
I want to say that Marvel Superheroes 2, it had a boss fight with what was the World Eater dude?
Oh, Galactus.
Galactus, yeah. There's a boss fight against Galactus.
Oh,
it's
nice.
Fucking crazy. It's either Galactus or it's I don't remember.
So yeah, no, the characters in like Marvel Superheroes would later end up making their way proper into the Marvel vs. Capcom series, which, funny enough, the original Marvel vs. Capcom game was actually, I think, X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the first iteration of it. It was take the X-Men characters and throw them into the Street Fighter universe. And it's amazing how they made that work, It's like they gave the movesets a very unique spin to them, like especially with the X-Men Marvel characters.
Yeah.
And also kind of they kind of have their own characterization that's kind of unique to them a little bit.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And then there was Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. So again, just sticking to the Street Fighter series, but putting them against not just the X-Men, but everybody that we came to play in Marvel Superheroes, right?
Yeah.
And then we finally got the first proper Marvel versus Capcom game, Marvel versus Capcom Clash of Superheroes. So that's where they're going to start implementing characters from different series, like Darkstalkers.
I remember that being a really fun game on the Sega Saturn back in the day. The first Marvel versus Capcom, I believe it came out back then.
Yeah,
it was really awesome, man. Like you had to have the extra cartridge to like play it and everything to back up the graphics and all that. Yeah.
Damn, it was one of those kinds of games.
Sega Saturn. That was like one of the best home consoles when it came to arcade ports of Capcom fighters, because for some reason there was just something about the hardware, like especially with the extra, even though it had to have the extra cartridge, there's something about the hardware that really lent itself well to it. Like SNK, like kind of did the same thing with King of Fighters a little bit, but it was really well known for having really superlative arcade ports of Capcom fighters. So, and I remember those games being on the Saturn. My buddy Daniel, he had a Saturn, so we played that on there, and it was great.
Yeah, I've played a Marvel vs. Capcom console port before too. I don't remember which one specifically. It may have been like 3 or 4 or something, but we actually got the chance to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes at the arcade, which was the only arcade fighting game I think there that was its own
standalone cabinet. Yeah. And let me tell you, this is actually a game that kind of has a little bit of nostalgia to me, because back when I was going to Job Corps, I would take a weekend leave and come back to San Antonio and come back home and hang out for the weekend and everything. And I would hang out with my friends and whatnot. And I remember at the bus terminal in downtown San Antonio, the Greyhound bus terminal there, they had their cafeteria and everything. They had a diner and whatnot. And in the corner, they had an NFL Blitz machine and NFL Blitz 2000, and they had a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 game. So that actually kind of took me back to that moment. Like whenever we'd be waiting for our buses to load up or anything, or if I was waiting for my mom to get there, I'd just go in there and I'd blow a couple of dollars on Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and everything. So that was a good memory to kind of go back to, and it was good to see an actual standalone cabinet. That was really awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I enjoyed that quite a bit. I loved the use of the Infinity Stones. I noticed, like, as we were picking up Infinity Gems, I never really got to use any of their abilities, because I know, like, you pull it off like a special move, and some of the loading screen hints kind of help you with it, but
yeah, I
never ended up pulling off any of those abilities. But I remember, even without that, I was still kicking everybody's ass as Spider-Man for a little while.
Oh yeah, I mean, Spider-Man is that's pretty much the good beginner character for that particular game, and also a good beginner character for Marvel vs. Capcom, because
or kicking your ass, I should say.
Oh yeah, kicking my ass. Totally.
I think I actually beat you at Marvel vs. Capcom, didn't I?
At least once. I think I beat you. I beat you at least once.
And I think so.
Yeah.
The one that I actually started doing well was King of Fighters, which we'll get to. But
yeah,
I want to say Like I actually,
didn't you have Thanos as one of your characters in one group?
Yeah. So I think the system I ended up going with, and now I remember, I think I continued to play against computer opponents with this team, and that's what I was kicking ass at. Spider-Man, Thanos, and I wanted to pick like one Capcom character, so I think I picked Morrigan.
Yeah, Morrigan. And I went with Sakura, Storm, and Psylocke. So 2 mutants and a Capcom character.
Nice.
Yeah.
I knew I would go with mostly Marvel characters, but I wanted to represent a little bit. I might have tried out with Ryu as well.
You know what? You know who's actually in that game?
Huh?
Jill Valentine.
Oh, nice.
She's a playable character in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
I totally missed her. Was she just not unlocked, or
no? She was there.
Dude, I would have fucking picked her.
Yeah, she has a special where a bunch of zombies come after the character and attack them.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Dude, yeah, it's fucking great, man. It's like there's so many great Capcom characters. Like there's even like Tron Bond from Mega Man and everything. And of course, Mega Man himself is in that, makes an appearance and everything. So yeah, there's all kinds of, and I think the homeboy from Strider makes an appearance as well.
Nice. Yeah, no, that it was fucking cool as hell. I actually really would love to play more of Capcom's Marvel games in general because
it's a great series and it really refined the Capcom fighting formula as well. It just further refined what they established with Street Fighter.
Well,
and also what they also kind of continued with Darkstalkers. They just further refined it with the Marvel, Capcom, or X-Men versus Street Fighter or whatever. They just really refined and also refined the graphics and everything.
Yeah, and I know they like Marvel superheroes, for instance, use the same control scheme that the 6-button control scheme that we see in Street Fighter, that we see in Darkstalkers.
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, interestingly enough, though, actually had a few dedicated buttons for switching characters out.
Exactly. Yeah. Unlike the other games where you had to switch characters, where you had to kind of do a little button combination, which I wasn't entirely clear about, like especially with like King of Fighters,
yeah,
a little bit. But there, yeah, you have the actual button to switch characters, and that it makes for a more seamless fight. I feel
actually, I think it was like a dedicated like support button.
Yeah,
was what it was for each character.
Yeah.
And then there's a switch out by pressing and holding either of the like. Holding both light punch and light kick, or holding both hard punch and hard kick or heavy punch and heavy kick at the same time, will swap out between either of your two characters.
Yeah, okay, I see.
So, there's a little bit of that for actually switching out, but there's a dedicated support button for each one of your other two characters. So, and it was really cool being able to kind of, something we later got with King of Fight, we later got to check out with the King of Fighters system, and I think Rage of the Dragons as well, but being able to switch out characters, in order to preserve the health, and the characters that you don't currently have, that you're not currently playing actually start to regenerate health while you have them in stock, which is nice.
Yeah.
So you can actually, you can kind of preserve better that way and save your more powerful characters for later, which is cool. There's a whole strategy that goes into that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Once again, going back into the Capcom fighting formula. I mean, that's kind of how that evolution really, progressed.
Yeah.
It's like to where, you started to have a lot more depth to the fighting mechanics.
Yeah, and of course, we can't talk about Capcom fighting games. We can't talk about Street Fighter without bringing up. We can't talk about fighters without bringing up the other big one, Mortal Kombat.
Oh man, talk about like one of the cornerstones of my childhood. Right there was, like I said on the Mortal Kombat episode that we did. Like one of my favorite memories involving video games was my mom telling me whenever I would go into the arcade at Cece's Pizza, like, okay, here's a couple of dollars, but you cannot play Mortal Kombat. Like specifically, I couldn't play Mortal Kombat. I fucking played Mortal Kombat. She didn't stop me. I fucking played it.
Yeah, so we actually talked about Mortal Kombat extensively a couple seasons back. And we went over the first four games, or the ones which were on arcade, actually, as part of a bonus round episode, and we're going to continue that series, even eventually go into like Mortal Kombat clones and whatnot.
Yeah.
We played some Mortal Kombat 11, I know, and we checked out some of the other games, but it was nice to actually dig back into these because, well, I was getting my ass handed to me playing a lot of Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat I could get into and actually start to kick ass because I'd kind of learned it, and I kind of knew how to input, the special moves, even going back to the first Mortal Kombat game.
It really is a pretty intuitive fighting system when you really think about it. I mean, it was maybe slightly clunky when it comes to the first game, especially on consoles, but in arcade, it was a pretty fast game. It was very fast paced, and unfortunately, the version that we were playing at the arcade, it was not really being emulated all that well.
It was janky as hell.
Very janky, very
unplayable.
Practically, it was unplayable. You couldn't get any nuance to the controls or anything. You couldn't get that right feel.
Yeah, and whereas like I had really gotten to learn like Liu Kang's move style, and got to really work through him, and I made my way all the way up to Goro. I've never beaten fucking Goro though.
Yeah,
but I did make my way up all the way there. Yeah, that was just not possible. So even though we were having what should have been the definitive experience, not so much. But honestly, that's just more credit to the arcade collection that I have on 360 because that's actually a pretty decent port. It emulates Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, which was the later revision of Mortal Kombat 3 that didn't include all the characters from 1 and 2, which would be redundant.
I'm going to say right now, Mortal Kombat 3 is my favorite of this series.
It's funny.
It's just the purest Mortal Kombat game there is.
You said Mortal Kombat 2 before on our episode, and I said Mortal Kombat 3.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe my opinion has actually changed a little bit because I played a little more of it.
I would agree. Mortal Kombat 3, especially Mortal Kombat Trilogy, being that it includes all of the characters from the past 2 games, but the port that I played includes Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, I think, because that would just be redundant because you have the other 2 games.
Yeah, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, it's just the best version of Mortal Kombat 3, mostly.
Yeah.
And it adds so many interesting characters. And eventually, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, that's another one that I really love a lot. Although that's more of a console port.
Right, I think so, yeah. But the arcade collection is actually really nice emulation of the first 3 Mortal Kombat games. We also got to play a little bit of Mortal Kombat 4 on the PS1, which is another one that we had played before.
That's always a favorite of mine as well. I mean,
the transition to 3D space.
Yeah, it's a good 3D fighter. If somewhat 2D.
Yeah. I mean, we're not gonna talk too much about the Mortal Kombat series as a whole or even these particular games because we kind of already have done that in a previous episode. But I mean, it's a solid fucking series when it comes to fighting games. I think that Mortal Kombat might be my favorite, or the one that I put the most amount of effort into. And the latest entry, Mortal Kombat 11, has me excited for where they take the series in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, especially that they're adding like movie characters to the roster and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like Rambo and the Terminator and RoboCop, Predator.
Man.
It's like, yeah, man.
That's cool as hell.
Isn't a Cenobite not a Cenobite, a fucking a xenomorph from Aliens?
I think a xenomorph is in there. I know Freddy was, I think.
Freddy was in there. They need to go ahead and just go all out and just have Pinhead from Hellraiser there. Have the Cenobites.
Or am I tripping? Freddy was in there, right? The Terminator was.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Freddy was in a Mortal Kombat game somewhere along the line.
I know. I think he was either in 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And I think I want to say Jason may have been in one of them, or maybe
he was. No, he was.
It was okay, and I think that was 10. I think Jason was in 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I guess that's really all we have to say about the Mortal Kombat series. So moving on, one of the other games that we actually got to check out at the arcade was Blood Warrior.
Blood Warrior is interesting because it's kind of it's a Mortal Kombat clone.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know that we were going to save Mortal Kombat clones for a different time, but This right here, it's quite possibly one of the more unique ones because, for one, I mean, you just got to see the character models. I mean, there's this one girl, it looks like they literally just got their secretary in their fucking lobby to just dress up like a ninja and...
Oh, no, we played this on your PlayStation Classic. We did.
Yeah,
but
this was on PlayStation Classic.
I think it was a MAME ROM, though.
It was a MAME ROM. Yeah, it was originally an arcade game. It was never released on console.
Okay.
At least that I know of. But...
And it was that character Arashi, I remember, which means storm, I know, in Japanese.
Yeah.
That character was kicking my ass, so I ended up, whenever I died, I picked him and started playing as him.
And one of the characters is a straight-up Kappa demon, and oh my god, the prosthetic makeup for this guy is so janky. It's just like, oh man, this has been immortalized forever. This poor dude. The poor dude in this costume. He's just like, oh, that's humiliating.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's that one Tibetan monk dude that has like a giant head on his, like a giant mask or something on. He pretty much uses Buddhism as a fighting style.
And I know there was a samurai character there too that I took notice of, but I didn't get the chance to actually play.
He was the dude that whenever he wins, he's just like, take care of yourself. Yeah, there's some weird vocal samples in this particular game. Lots of weird voice acting.
Yeah, and I want to say like most of the characters seem to be like ninja based.
Like yeah, there's one that's a Kabuki warrior.
Yeah, Kabuki man.
Kabuki man, Sanjo.
Joe?
Yeah, got to bring up some trauma.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's actually not the worst Mortal Kombat clone.
Yeah,
to tell the truth, and it actually plays pretty fast. It's got a good fast little mechanic to it.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's pretty hard.
It is. It's difficult. It's like especially playing against the computer, but yeah, it's not the worst Mortal Kombat clone there is, and I actually enjoy playing it.
Fuck yeah. Well, also on your PlayStation Classic, we played Bloody Roar 2, the new breed. So this was the furry fighting game. Thank you for that.
The furry fighters. Oh, yes. Bunny Girl and Batgirl, dude.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay.
Fucking yes.
And I like the half beast. So apparently, I looked it up. Her whole thing is that, yeah, she only turns half into a cat.
Oh, that's weird. So
she doesn't fully transform like the rest of them.
So why don't they just call her Cat Girl?
I don't know.
She turns into a literal cat girl.
She turns into a cat girl.
That's literally what she is, a straight up Neko girl.
And of course, there's the fucking wolf, which is every furry's either a wolf or a fox.
Either a wolf or a fox, exactly. It's like where are the giraffe furries?
Yeah, why don't you guys be more original? I mean, if you're gonna be cringe, at least don't be a fucking stereotype and do the exact same.
Why don't y'all be zebras? Why don't y'all dress up like the characters of Madagascar?
But yeah, if you're a furry and you like fighters, this is the game for you. There's a whole mechanic based around transforming into these beast forms, and it's a 3D fighter.
Yeah,
actually,
it's not the most in-depth one, honestly. Like, I mean, it's not like a straight up Tekken clone. It's pretty easy to get into if you're more of a casual fighting game fan. And you can actually switch between your beast mode and your regular mode rather easily. But, I mean, yeah, I actually think it's a lot of fun. I mean, I have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, actually. And then getting to see some of the more, like, interesting animal forms. Like, there's a mole guy. A mole? Okay.
Yeah, there's a dude who's a mole. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a dude who's an insect.
I think there's also a dude who turns into a gorilla, I believe.
Banging like gorillas. Bang, bang.
Stupid.
Yeah, no, I had more fun with it than I thought I would.
Yeah. And honestly, the graphics aren't bad for a PS1 fighting game. Honestly.
No, not at all.
I mean, yeah, obviously the arcade version is a little better, but
yeah,
not bad. It's not bad.
So one PS1 game though that I really fucking enjoyed and I really got into was Urguys.
Oh, Urguys, God bless the ring. Oh yes, the Squaresoft fighter.
Which had Final Fantasy VII characters. So the base game that came out on arcades actually had Cloud and Tifa. The PlayStation 1 port actually brings Sephiroth as a bonus as a base character, and I believe Yuffie and Vincent as unlockable characters.
Yeah, it's pretty much the closest we're going to get to an actual, honest-to-goodness Final Fantasy VII fighter.
So you know exactly which characters I played as immediately. I played as Cloud, then Tifa, then Sephiroth, and those were the first 3 characters that I even tried out.
The original characters are kind of interesting, though. Like, there's the Yo-Yo Cop.
Yeah. So being able to fight against these characters, and then there's also this kind of like the story going around with this like Urgai's sword thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's really weird. But
and I loved how like the Final Fantasy VII characters fucking they do the animations that they do in the original game. And
then you hear the
Cloud was fucking awesome too because he actually fights with his fists, and I was like, dude, is he gonna pull out his sword? Like what Cloud fighting with his fists? What? No, he does. There's a button you press and he'll pull out his sword.
Exactly.
And then you can fuck people up. Once you get the sword out, it's over.
Oh, easily, man. It's like, yeah, the special, the mechanics with the specials were interesting because you don't really have to put a button combination in. It's really just relegated to a single button.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of another PS1 fighter called Destrega, which also had a very similar top-down kind of almost isometric fighter type of feel to it, you know? It's more like an arena fighter.
Yeah,
you know that's what it is. Kind of like Power Stone.
It's a full 3D, so it's played from an isometric perspective, and there's a jump button that's actually one of the shoulder buttons.
Yeah,
interestingly enough, I know there was a Transformers game of the PS2 I played that was like that. So it's not the first time it's been done. I think Mirror's Edge too.
yeah, of course.
But So it was actually a lot of fun, and a lot of the characters were interesting too. Like I said, even outside of the Final Fantasy roster, there was a wolf character that actually ended up being the one that kicked my ass as Cloud. Kind of reminded me of Red 13, actually.
Yeah, it was the other girl who was like blonde hair and had a long pigtail or something like that, or long braid.
She also had a form, but no, there's a white one that's just a wolf.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's right.
And there was a chick that turned into this like golden wolf thing as like one of her abilities. There's a dude with a gun who can like lay mines and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun to get to like not only fight these characters but play as some of them, and I would definitely go back and check out more of our guys. There's a whole quest mode that's like an action RPG.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of rudimentary a little bit, and it's not the first time that Square has actually done that. They've done it in another fighting series they had called Tobal number 1 and Tobal number 2. That had a actual like quest mode in it, and they kind of transfer that here to Urgai's. But this is even more so like an RPG. I think it even has a story arc and everything.
Yeah,
so
it seems really interesting.
It is. It's an interesting take on a fighting game mechanic. You know.
Yeah, and the Final Fantasy characters just chef's kiss. That was cool.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a lot of fun to play as Tifa or as Cloud. It's really awesome.
Yeah. So getting into some of the games that we actually got to play at the Diversions game room, so we got kind of more of that authentic arcade experience. Saturday Night Slam Masters, that was a wrestling game that you picked. I think that was the first one we played there.
Yeah, it's an old school, technically kind of a fighting game from SNK. And it's weird because it's got fighting game mechanics, but then it's also got wrestling mechanics. Like you have your standard, high punch, low punch, like high kick, low kick, and everything. But you also have a button that will enable you to like get up on the turnbuckle, and
I noticed
and also
that was
like
cool,
like bouncing on the ropes and everything.
Yeah, just don't get out of the ring because it's damn near impossible to figure out how to get back on it.
Oh, it is, man. Yeah, no, you don't want to because you will be counted out. I mean, it does go by wrestling rules, and instead of ending the match whenever your health is up, you have to pin.
Yeah,
but that's the other thing is that if you can still win by pinfall early on in the match, and also it has the mayor from Final Fight. What's his name? Heidegger? No, it's not Heidegger.
That's for Final Fantasy.
That's for Final Fantasy VII. It's Hegel or something like that. But yeah, it's a fun little send up of professional wrestling. Honestly, It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those games that you would find on an SNK, Neo Geo, multi-game cabinet. You know, 9 times out of 10, you would find something like that. You would find like Samurai Showdown, which we're going to probably have to throw in as another honorable mention here in a little bit and talk about that for a second.
Because we tried to play that one and it didn't work.
It didn't work.
That one machine was janky.
It was janky as fuck. It wouldn't let us play any of the Sam Show games. And I have some of them on PlayStation. We should have played them.
Yeah, we should have actually. Cause you've shown me Samurai Showdown before. It looks really fucking cool.
Samurai Showdown is great because it was the first side-scrolling weapons-based fighter and everything. Like you had the whole mechanic where you had the weapons and you could actually lose the weapons if you're hit a certain way and everything. And it even had like fatalities and whatnot. It was the original arcade game was actually a very bloody game and everything. And it had the mechanic where the screen and the camera would go outwards if there was distance between the characters and then come close whenever they would come in and fight. And it has some very memorable characters, man. Like Ukyo, the samurai that was kind of had this weird kind of hunched back look to him.
Yeah.
There's Haomaru. There's a Hansel, Charlotte. I mean, Tam Tam. You know, all kinds of awesome characters, and it's a really great fighter. And it's like the premier SNK Neo Geo fighting series, and it's still going on to this day.
Fuck yeah. One game, though, that we actually did get working on that particular machine that we tried to play Samurai Showdown on was the King of Fighters, specifically the King of Fighters 98. So I think this was the first one that was available, like not the first one ever, but the first one that was available on that machine from that series.
Now, on my PlayStation, before I went ahead and had to sell all of it, I had King of Fighters 95 on that, and it's a fun fighting game, man. I always play as Mai. Mai is my girl, dude. She's awesome, dude. Like, you've got to play as her.
Okay.
You know, everybody who plays King of Fighters, you got to play as Mai. You got to play as Terry Bogard.
Oh, yeah, fucking Terry, yeah.
Yeah, Terry Bogard. You have to play as the kickboxing dude.
So I actually kicked your ass at this one. I actually got into the groove. I liked how, there were different, you had like 3 different characters that you got to select from. I picked this one dude who was just a fucking unit.
Oh, total unit, man. Like, I don't know how the hell I was able to even get a hit in on you, man. Like, he was just this ginormous fucking karate dude, and it's like I'm like trying to go up over with like Mai and everything. It's like, damn it.
Yeah. So I had him. I had this chick who had these awesome fucking flip kicks where she would just do a fucking cartwheel and kick the enemy.
And she would just bitch slap you?
Yes!
Straight bitch slap your ass. That was her jab.
And then I had somebody that to me just screamed like protagonist goon. I don't know.
Yeah, more or less.
So yeah, actually was actually winning these fights. And for context, Beau, actually, you are a lot better at me at these types of games, and most of the time you win. This game I actually got into the groove of, and I was actually enjoying it.
Well, King of Fighters, its fighting mechanics is, a little bit more, you got to have a little more finesse with it,
And the character switching, you actually did have to hold 2 buttons at once. I actually didn't figure that out for a little while.
Yeah, same here for the longest time, but I mean, I actually figured it out, and it's just one of the top 3 fighting games of all time for me.
Really?
Like the King of Fighters, along with like Samurai Showdown and, maybe Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I would have loved to play one of the later games in the series, but most of the games on this fucking machine didn't fucking work.
Oh, I hated that so much. There were, and it had a lot of different ROMs on it and everything. So, I mean, God damn it, man! They had so many of those classic SNK fighters, like The Art of Fighting or World Heroes, like shit that we should have been able to play, and it breaks my heart that we weren't able to play them.
Yeah, but one of the ones we did get to play was Rage of the Dragons.
That's that to me kind of felt like a King of Fighters clone a little bit.
It was actually. I noticed that.
It was very much a clone of King of Fighters, and I know that a lot of these anime style fighters, they kind of take after each other, like especially with the standards that were set by Capcom, and then kind of further refined with SNK and everything.
Yeah, I think Rage of the Dragons was the one where I actually figured out the character switching, because I didn't. That's right. With King of Fighters, I didn't figure out the character switching. I just had to wait until one died to try out another one.
Yeah.
Rage of the Dragons, I figured it out. And it's the press of a couple of buttons at the same time. You actually, despite this being a King of Fighters clone, though, you actually had a good team set up, and you were doing pretty well. I did get to try out a hidden character, and there was a dude there. I don't know if he worked there or if he was just chilling and like really knew this machine pretty well, but he showed us a trick on how to like unlock that.
Oh no,
character.
that dude was a total arcade rat, man. Like straight up, dude.
Yeah.
I can relate, man. I was an arcade rat back in the day as well.
It was pretty close. He actually played you around, and it was pretty close.
Very close. Yeah, I think I ended up beating him.
You ended up beating him.
Yeah, it was really close, man. But I actually bested him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was I think you all were playing Rage of the Dragons too.
Yeah, we were. It's weird that I could get that, but I couldn't get King of Fighters 98 down.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I don't know. But I think you just had a good team setup. I think that it's like part of like being good at fighting games is just picking the right characters. And I mean, later on, these characters do get rebalanced in later revisions of the game, but
yeah, that's the thing. Any good, well-rounding fighting game gamer, whatever game you play, you're going to have those characters that their movesets just feel just right. The mechanic with their fighting, with their style feels just, it flows the right way for you and everything.
And even it's taking into account rebalancing. I mean, even if you're not using like broken strats or like cheat mechanics that get fixed later, you might just get into the groove with a certain character and learn their moveset.
Exactly. I mean, you get into their moveset. I mean, it might be easier for you to work with. Like for instance, on Mortal Kombat, like I'm like really, really good with Noob Saibot. Like Noob Saibot is a character that, like, don't fight me if I'm playing Noob Saibot. It's almost cheating for me to fucking play him, honestly.
Yeah,
because I'll fucking stomp you, especially on Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
Give me Sub-Zero or Scorpion, or Liu Kang and just about any classic Mortal Kombat game, and I can kind of figure it out because I know a lot of the special moves that got carried over and whatnot, or even hell out with like Ryu and Street Fighter. I mostly played as Ryu, so I learned his moveset the most.
Yeah, definitely.
Still can't pull up a fucking Shoryuken consistently, but
it's a tricky it's a tricky button combo.
But those Hadokens and Tatsumaki Senpukyakus.
Man, another arcade game that I wish they would have had there, the first Killer Instinct. Man, because the arcade version of that is superlative. Like, it's good on the Super Nintendo, but the arcade version, it's just got better animation, and it's got a lot more blood in it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think, Beau, you had one more bonus entry, which is not technically an arcade fighter, but
yeah, as opposed to all the other bonus shit that I threw in here, might as well just throw Pit Fighter in there. Have you ever had a chance to play Pit Fighter? That's a good little Mortal Kombat Midway fighter.
Yeah,
a little bit, but the one that we're talking about is Battle Arena Toshinden. Now, this is a game that goes far back with me when my buddy Joey, I've mentioned him on the podcast before. I'd love to have him on the show at some time, but Joey, he was a big gamer. We were all huge gamers back in the day. And when PlayStation came out, we went ahead and rented one from Hollywood Video in town. And one of the games that we played was Battle Arena Toshinden. And let me tell you, it's a nice little bit of 90s nostalgia if you play it. It's not a particularly, fluid fighter or anything like that. There's a little bit of jank to it,
Yeah.
It's the control scheme takes a little bit getting used to, needless to say. And the graphics are, straight up, PS1, it's bright, but it's kind of scungy PS1 blockiness, very early on in the platform's existence. But it's still a lot of fun to me. Like, you had characters like Sophia, you had the main dude with the like Eris, I think his name is, or I don't remember a lot of the characters' names, but there's like there's the one dude with the claws and everything. Like, he's fucking cool. And then it's a really cool fighter. It's something that it's just really nostalgic. And if you love yourself some of that good old school PS1 aesthetics, it's like that's something that you have to have in your collection because it just fits that bill perfectly.
Nice.
And incidentally, if you get the PS Classic, it actually comes as one of the stock games. So I didn't even have to get a ROM for it. It was already part of the PS Classic that I got. But yeah, I recommend checking it out and checking out the later additions to the series. The BAT 1 through 4, they were all released on PlayStation 1. And, they actually, the graphics improved, the gameplay mechanics improved, they added more characters, and it's a pretty classic fighter.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I guess that concludes our arcade game mega review on fighters. Had a lot of fun doing this with you, Beau. Thank you again for joining. And I think, looking back on Collateral Gaming and everything that we've been doing through, the 5 seasons that we've had so far, I'm really excited that we're, we're exploring every corner of the world of gaming,
Exactly.
Slowly.
You got to take into account, the history of gaming, and you got to kind of focus on that here and there. And arcades are an important part of gaming culture. It's part of our heritage as gamers. If it wasn't for the arcade, gaming wouldn't have been brought into the mainstream the way that it was. So, and then the consoles came along, like that kind of affected the arcade a little bit, but you saw all the people that were there at the arcade when we were there. And like you said, that's an old arcade. It's been there for ages and it's still going strong, so there's still a place in the world of gaming for arcades. There's a place
Definitely.
for them. And that's why it's kind of sad to me that you're not seeing a whole lot of video game arcade cabinets coming out. You're seeing more like prize machines and everything, like coin pushers and, like those key games or whatever.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Konami has a very fine set of Silent Hill pachinko machines.
Oh, yes, let me tell you, fine pachinko machines.
Aren't you excited that that's the Silent Hill content we've gotten over the years more recently?
Oh, beyond excited.
Fuck remakes, fuck new Silent Hill entries.
I'm surprised they didn't. I'm surprised with all the different pachiko video games that have been released in Japan. Like, whenever you see different video game, historic, compilations of historical video games and everything, that you don't see more of that.
Yeah,
you don't see more of those games.
No, you don't. And what's kind of sad too is that a lot of so-called arcades now don't even have a lot of these these types of aren't traditional arcades. They're more just the more modern type.
Yeah, they're very modern. It's
kind of like Chuck E. Cheese kind of experience or Dave and Buster's.
I kind of blame Sega and Capcom for that because some of the arcade machines that they came out in the early 2000s kind of had that aesthetic to them. That very kind of clean aesthetic to them. That's just I don't know. It's just something that you just don't get with a classic stand-up cabinet.
No, exactly. And at least the one that we went to had plenty of those and more modern gaming arcade machines and some of those ones that are obviously designed to screw you over.
Yeah, but it is good to see that there are still some companies out there making some decent arcade games of all types of genres, we saw all kinds of racing games there. There's a glut of light gun games. That's where we did the light gun game episode. Mm-hmm. We did the research there. It was a great atmosphere. I like that particular I like that particular arcade. So yeah, once again, Diversion's Game Room in San Antonio, Texas, on San Pedro Avenue. Go check them out if you're ever in town.
Or go check out your local arcade and, check out all of the fighting games that they have to offer, or any of the fighters mentioned on this list if you come across them. If you can find a good port, because a lot of these, like we mentioned, were PlayStation ports that we played, or they have, modern ports of it that are actually proper, accurate emulations of the original arcade.
And
machines.
in the end, there's always MAME. So if you have a decent computer that can emulate well or something like that, it's like definitely play some of these games there.
Fuck yeah. Well, Beau, is there anything going on with Collateral Cinema that's worthy of mentioning?
Well, we are going to be doing another collaboration with Collateral Gaming with Silent Hill. We're going to check out the original Silent Hill movie that came out in theaters many years ago. I remember seeing it in the theaters, actually.
Yeah.
Incidentally. And yeah, we're going to do an episode with Collateral Gaming where we're going to talk about Silent Hill Homecoming and the first Silent Hill, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's actually what's coming up this month. So yeah, we're doing this kind of Silent Hill collab. We also should have our episode out on Clueless on Collateral Cinema. So.
Yeah, that should be out at least by tomorrow, at the very least.
And I believe we were talking about doing an at the movies episode and a commentary this month.
Yeah, something like that.
We try to hit those once a month.
We try to. It's going to be a little hectic, but we'll try to get it done.
Yeah. What about the director's cut?
Oh man, I don't remember what we were doing for the director's cut.
We talked about movie recommendations. We've thrown a couple other things around.
Yeah, we still have to figure it out,
But yeah, on the Collateral Gaming, we are doing It Takes Two this month, and then our bonus round is going to be the aforementioned Silent Hill episode, and we're also going to be doing a game lunch review on Fire Emblem Engage, which is actually going to be featuring a guest. So let me pull up the information.
Oh yes, and our Silent Hill episode should also have a guest from Cinema Recall as well. So
yeah, so we should have Andrew from the DuoSense podcast. That's
nice.
What his Facebook says. He was actually recommended to me from somebody who reached out to the Collateral Gaming Facebook account. Let me pull that conversation up real quick David. Let me see. Yeah, David reached out to us and recommended a guy. So that's going to be cool. I'm actually looking forward to having a guest once again on Collateral Gaming. It's been a while since we've had a proper guest outside of like Beau or Victims and Villains.
Yeah. So
Dan Rockwood is actually going to be on quite a few episodes this season, but by the time we get to the end of this, so that's really fun. Dan, if you're listening, love you, man.
Hell yeah.
Love having you on. And then next month we are doing the Ace Attorney trilogy. Yep, that's right. Yeah, next month is a Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy is going to be our numbered episode, and I would love to hit Hogwarts Legacy because that's going to be a game coming out next month. So for the game launch series, we're going to be talking about Hogwarts Legacy almost certainly. I believe the Dead Space remake also comes out during sometime between this month and next, but I don't have the hardware to play it, so wah wah.
Wah, 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 wah. Oh, well.
Oh, well. And Hogwarts Legacy is going to be pending actually, come to think of it, I think the version of Hogwarts Legacy that comes out is the next-gen version, so.
Damn it. God damn it.
Yeah, this is getting more complicated. Resident Evil 4 is coming out soon, too. I know that much. That's in March, Beau.
Okay.
But yeah,
Excellent.
the Ace Attorney trilogy episode is going to be a collab with Collateral Cinema.
Yes, definitely. We're going to also check out the Phoenix Wright Takashi Miike movie.
That's right. That's why it's a collab.
Exactly.
So check out our Patreon. Both Collateral Gaming and Collateral Cinema do have a Patreon. We have $1 and $5 tiers. Donate any amount of money and you get access to exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries or full-length movie commentaries on the Collateral Cinema side.
And we will have more content coming out very soon once we start getting more patrons and everything. Like we'll probably do like special live stream Q&As and also maybe even start releasing our episodes a few days early.
Yeah, that's definitely a thought. And maybe something to do, since on the Patreon side of Collateral Gaming, since we've been so behind, to kind of find other ways to.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to do a commentary on Morbius.
I think that is the next commentary that we have in the works.
Yeah, so it's Morbin time, ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah, so I think if we do a commentary this month, that might be it. If we do an At the Movies episode on Collateral Cinema, probably Megan.
Yeah, the new deadly robot doll movie. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that actually looks pretty fun. So I'm excited about it.
It's got some buzz.
Yeah. So check us out on social media as well, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also find our Collateral Media Podcasts group, which is our shitposting / news group, where you can participate, post memes related or memes, news, or whatever related to movies, video games, TV series, anime, wrestling, pop culture in general. If you have a podcast that you want to plug or promote, feel free.
Exactly. Yeah. We want to hear your podcast. So come on and share it on our shitposting group.
And if you are a podcaster listening, we definitely are open to having more guests on the show because, especially with Collateral Gaming, because like I said, we've got one coming up with Fire Emblem Engage, which I'm excited about. And then, but other than that, and like whatever I've got Beau or like Dan hooked up for, I don't think like any of our upcoming episodes have dedicated guests. So hit us up.
Yeah, definitely hit up Collateral Cinema as well if you feel like you can add something to one of our episodes.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Well, guys, that's been all. I don't suppose there's really a lot more to bullshit our way through.
No, not at all.
So that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I've been Zangief. No, I'm Beau Maddox.
This has been Collateral Gaming. Happy anniversary. Thanks for sticking with us. If you've been sticking with us as long as you have, or even if you're just getting into it, we are happy to have you along for the ride.
Exactly. We love you all.
Alrighty, folks. Be safe out there. We are out.
Out.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.